Hi, well, we are back. Let me just double check my, yep, I got a green light. Awesome. So I did a little bit of a video earlier to test and see if this would work, and it looks like you can see my work surface. We do have a little bit of a glare. I apologize. My lighting isn't super great in this room, but at least I have a sewing room. And we're working on darts for our little girl dresses to match our doll dresses. And we just did the pink dress. Now we're going to work on one of our kind of black and white, grayish daisy motif dress. Love this pattern. Actually, I wouldn't mind having some kind of dress made out of it for myself. That could be in the works eventually. All right, so we're going to be working and making pleats on the front of the dress. Let's move that aside. And we're actually working on 3 dresses. And I have found that when you're sewing, it's always easiest if you're doing multiple things at the same time to do the same part of the process on each thing at the same time. Kind of speeds it up. I learned that from a friend of mine. He's really a very good sewer. Let's go ahead and switch to some black thread. I think that'll go better with this from our pink. And it probably wouldn't matter too much what kind of color of thread you're using for the pleats, but try to stay in the same hue at least, just in case. And you'll notice I put my glasses on to thread the needle because that is how we roll. There we go, got that. And it has a needle threader, but for some reason the needle threader has always been a little awkward on this. All right, let's go ahead and pin some pleats. Let's see, I think you can see that good. Yay, somebody joined us. Hey, thanks for joining in. All right, so I'm going to open up the front. This was cut on a fold, and we already zigzagged all the edges for all the fabric pieces. And I'm just taking the pattern and I'm going to put it on each side so I can mark where the seams go. The darts, the pleats, whatever you want to call them. I really, really love this fabric. It's so cute. And hopefully the little girls are going to love having dresses that match their doll. I picked up some 18-inch dolls to go with the dresses. I think that's going to be a nice gift, nice surprise. And actually, as many things as I'm sewing, and in light of the fact of how crazy my sewing room is with fabric and whatnot, I'm probably going to be mailing these things out as I finish them, right? Be a little more organized. I'll have less stuff crammed in the space. Parents can always tuck it away for the holidays. So we're doing pleats. And don't be intimidated by pleats. If you've never done pleats, they're super easy. Just be consistent. That's the important thing. If I can do it, you can do it. Up until I started sewing some clothing, I would say in the last couple of years, most of my sewing projects were really pretty simple. So when I say if I can do it, you can do it, it's the truth. All right, so I pinned this. Now we're going to go ahead. We're just going to fold the pin over to the pin, turn it to the back side, and we will mark our spot. This is my technique. Anybody has a better one, share for the rest of us. All right, there's that one. Now let's do the next one. Fold it pin to pin. Pull the pins out. And mark it on this side. And the next one. See how easy that is? Super easy. And when you look at patterns, they always want you to mark it. And I just feel like it's easier to mark it with a pen because I like being able to touch the pens and feel where the pleat's supposed to be. Seems easier. Right, next. Yeah, I wish I would have learned how to do this a long time ago, but I guess when you're young and you're raising a child and working, you don't have time to do projects like this, right? Be cleaning the house or something about this time of night. Now I actually have time to relax. And when I shop for fabric, I always watch for sales. And somehow I just undid this one. Here we go. Double check that and make sure we still have it. I always buy fabric when it's on sale. And I think I need to move this. There we go. Fabric can be really expensive, but if you buy it when it's on sale, you'll make your projects affordable. I don't quite like that. All right, let me just grab that pattern piece again. Now my pins came loose. Right, there we go. They're conspiring against me. This one just tried to come loose too. It's all right. We're gonna win. Yeah, for some reason this one just looks like it's not quite as wide. Let's think about why that might be. We need just a little more space there. So let's just adjust it this way. We want our pleats to be evenly spaced. That works. Okay. Always do a visual check before you start sewing. Yep, that'll work. All right, now we're ready to sew. Pull our machine over. We're just going to make sure that as we sew, that we stay the same distance apart, right? The same depth for our pleat, and we're going to make sure that we keep the distance the same. So we'll go forward and then backwards. Pins out, cut the thread. Don't want any loose pieces of thread. It always looks tacky. Doesn't look very professional if you don't cut all your thread. And if you're really worried about measuring the distance, you could actually pin that to you and measure it with your ruler. But I find it's pretty easy just to start sewing. You'll kind of find a natural rhythm. Most people anyway, when you're doing something like this, you'll learn to be consistent. But if you think you're going to have a hard time doing that, go ahead and mark it. Our pins are not being good to us tonight. All right, we'll go ahead and sew the ones we have, and then we'll go back and mark that pleat again. It's funny, as many of these dresses I've made, I've never had a pleat come undone, but it's okay. It's not the end of the world. You'll get to see how I deal with it in case it happens to you. Uh-oh. Better check that out. All right, that doesn't look bad. Not sure why it did that. Once in a while when that happens, you have some thread caught under the sewing plate, but we will give it a try again. And actually, I'm just going to trim this thread where it's thick right here, so it doesn't try to catch into anything. All right, let's try it again. Much better. And all right, it's over here where we dropped our needles. Let's go ahead and do this one, and then we'll measure the other one that fell out. Not the end of the world. Okay. So we don't even have to pin it. Let's just sew it. Very good. We have the pleats in on this one. And we have one more dress that we're doing pleats on. And then we'll be ready to pen the front and the back together and start the assembly on this project. Can you hear Meg down there? She is my little buddy. She is hanging out. She goes where I go. And let's see if we can use the pattern from, yeah, this one will work. I have two pattern sizes. One's like one of the little girls is a smaller size and the other girls are a little bigger. But I can actually use the same pattern piece on both to mark the pleats. So that's very convenient. I don't have to dig that back out. Let's grab all the pens here. I guess most people are thinking about Halloween about now. I'm noticing there's all kinds of decorations out for that now. We went to coffee this morning and they already had orange everywhere. And it doesn't really feel like October to me, but maybe it's because it's been so warm. How about the rest of y'all? The more time you spend sewing, the more comfortable you'll be with it. And if you do the same pattern more than once, then you'll become very comfortable with that pattern. And a lot of what applies even to these little doll dresses that I've been making applies to garment construction for people. I think sewing the doll dresses gave me a little more confidence for working on people clothing. Right? So these pleats, let's fold them over, pin them, and let's see if we can pin them a little better this time. Last time they kept falling out on me, which normally isn't a problem. Swallowed wrong there, excuse me. Excuse me. I think I'm gonna live. If you've been following me for any time at all, you know that I had surgery in August and I started doing sewing projects because I had restrictions on my activities and lifting and whatnot. And this was a good way for a busy girl to do something that was kind of considered light duty. That, and I find all the colors of the fabric and working with these patterns to be kind of fun, enjoyable. Gave me something happy to do while I was feeling better. And I decided to make my gifts this year for just about everybody that I'm giving gifts to. Why not? I got plenty of fabric. Although one thing I've noticed about sewing things for people is almost every woman I've ever made something for always tells me that they're the size that they want to be. And then I never see them wearing it. And I think it's because they didn't quite reach their goals or they gained weight. So if anybody asks you what size you are, because they're going to make you something, go ahead and tell them. then the odds of you having a garment that you like are higher. Yeah, I was doing embroidery on blue jeans, and man, that was some pretty cool. Pretty cool. Very time consuming. Some of the blue jeans I embroidered took a couple of weeks because the designs were so intricate. I did some dogs for some of my friends that are dog lovers. Butterflies, starfish, so some animal themes, some ocean themes, some floral themes. I have a couple things I've done for myself too that I like to wear. All right, we have our pins in. It looks like everything's evenly spaced. Let's go ahead and sew these darts. So even though the Butterick patterns run larger, which isn't the end of the world because it's better if something's a little bigger than a little smaller, I would say all the pattern pieces fit really well together. Some of the patterns that I've bought that are simplicity style patterns, um, the pattern pieces don't always go well together. So they sometimes require a little bit of finagling. But one thing for sure about Butterick, so far, all the pattern pieces have fit well together. So I haven't had any problems with that. But it seems that they do run about 2 sizes larger. Which is kind of interesting because years ago, I worked at a university, and I remember one of the faculty telling me that high-end brands actually typically were a little bigger. So maybe Butterick is more high-end. Who knows? You tell me what you think. Hydroponic just shut off. Anybody else do any inside growing? Like lettuce? One of the things that I really enjoy. Tomorrow we're going to be doing, well, it's going to be a video that I have to edit, but I'm going to be canning pasta sauce. And that is quite the production. It'll probably take me a few days to get it edited. But I do pasta sauce every couple of years, and I make a big batch because it takes such a long time. Actually, maybe I could do this way. Let's do it this way. You have to place your pins in such a way that the pin heads aren't in the way when you go to sew, right? Which is kind of what happened here. The pin heads are in the way. Actually, let's just face the pins differently and maybe it'll work better. So yeah, tomorrow I'll be busy making pasta sauce, and it'll take me a few days to edit that video. For anybody who's got a lot of tomatoes that they're ready to process, I think probably most places you already have your tomatoes in. looks like I have a pinhead in the way. All right. Let's just take a minute and fix this. These pleats are pretty close together. That is a little challenging. I have to double check the spacing on these as I sew them now that I've had to undo this. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you got to make adjustments. All right, all of our pleats are sewed and we can start assembling our dress, which is fun. So we're going to want to put the right sides together. You can see the pleats on this. So this is the front. These two pieces are the back. And we're literally just going to line up the shoulder tops. This is a super easy pattern. Make sure you have your right sides together. Don't accidentally sew anything inside out. Let's pin the top of the shoulders to start. And we're going to do this step by step and do the same thing to each dress at the same time. And then just pin the sides together. And this actually goes so much better if you zigzag all the edges first. Just had such a nice finish to it. All right, and pin this side. just love this daisy print. So pretty. And I don't know if this would be a good pattern on me, but it's beautiful to look at. Enjoy looking at it. So the little girls that I'm sewing these dresses for were between a 4 and a 5 and a 6. They are the perfect age to give a little dress and a matching doll dress with a doll. They're old enough they'll actually remember it, right? All right, let's go ahead and sew this up. We're going to sew the sides and the shoulders. And we're going to do a 5/8 inch seam allowance. The first shoulder. Moving our pins as we sew our seams. The second shoulder. And cut our thread. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and sew the back together. We're going to leave a space for a closure at the top. We want our child to be able to put their head through the top, right? For now, we'll go ahead and sew the bottom of this together. Definitely leave enough space for them to get their head in the dress when they put the dress on. So that's about 6 inches, maybe just a little bit more. Now we're going to turn this right side out so we can have a peek at how our garment is starting to take shape. If you're just now joining us, we are working on a series of little girl dresses to match doll dresses. I have a piece of thread here. Let's cut that. So up to now, we cut out all the pieces. We finished the edges of all the pieces. We put the pleats in on the front panel, and we sewed the shoulders together, the sides and the back. You can see the body of the dress is starting to take shape. And we let the top back open. We have a lot left to do. We need to make sleeves. We're going to match the doll dresses. So we're going to have a collar. We're going to have a ribbon across here. We're going to have ribbon on the sleeves. And yeah, it's coming together nicely. And I have 2 more dresses to do the same thing with. And we will be back when we're ready to do the next step. Thanks for joining me tonight. Have a nice evening.